Backwards Moon, Chapter 5. They had just cleared the pass and had turned toward the village when Rose came hurtling toward them, her bony shoulders stiff, her long dress fluttering. "What news?" she cried shrilly. "We sent them home," said Bracken. "I cast a forgetting spell on them first." "Did it work?" said Rose sharply. "Yes," said Bracken. "Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure?" Bracken hesitated. "I think so. It seemed that way. But Rose, there are lights beyond the pass. Human lights!" Rose took in a breath through closed teeth. "Come with me," she commanded and swept back through the pass. She scanned the valley. "Blast! Blast and stink it!" "It's a village, isn't it?" said Bracken. Rose nodded grimly. "Go home now, both of you, right this minute." "Aren't you coming?" asked Bracken. "I have an errand to do," said Rose. "Go back. I'll be there soon." "What if we just wait here?" said Nettle. "Go home," said Rose in a terrible voice. So they did. On the commons, the gathering fire glowed. 7 black hats and 7 sets of bony knees were ringed around it on long log benches. Even Green Aunt Iris was there, huddled with the rest. Nettle and Bracken glided swiftly toward them. The circle of faces looked up. "Are they gone?" called Violet. Her voice sounded even higher and tenser than usual. "Yes," said Bracken, alighting. The others moved aside to make room on the benches. "We cast a forgetting spell on them and sent them back to wherever they came from." "There were only 2?" said Scabiosa. She was a big-shouldered witch with a wide grin and wild hair that was always escaping from its braid. Normally her voice was loud and full of laughter, but now it wasn't. "The hawk said there were only 2. "Yes," said Bracken, "but we saw lights, human lights, down the valley." A murmur ran the circle. "Many?" asked Scabiosa. "It seemed like a lot," said Bracken. "Rose met us on the way back, but she didn't come with us," said Nettle. "She said she had an errand to do. She didn't say what kind of errand." The firelight flickered on haggard faces. "She's gone to get wellspring water," Scabiosa said slowly. "Water to fix the veil." "See," said Nettle under her breath. "What did I tell you about the veil?" Why is everyone so worried?" asked Bracken. The wind stirred. The flames of the gathering fire wavered. You might as well tell them," said a hollow voice. Nettle turned her head, startled. Then from the darkness outside the circle, Toadflax's bent form stepped into the firelight. She stared at Bracken with hard eyes. "We're doomed," she snapped. "All of us." "Stop it, Toadflax," said several voices at once. Shrill murmuring and muttering rose. "What are you talking about?" asked Nettle. "That's ridiculous. We'll fix the veil and everything will be fine." Toadflax gave her a tight smile. "Everything will be fine," she mimicked. "Oh, yes, we'll be just fine, just like the passenger pigeons were fine. Once they flew in flocks so immense they blackened the sky, but come to think of it, I haven't seen any around lately. Have you?" "Don't listen to her," said Scabiosa. "This valley is beautiful now," said Toadflax. She blinked her red-rimmed eyes. "Just like the world outside it was, before the humans ruined it. Like the forests, before they chopped them all down. Like the prairies, with wildflowers as far as the eye could see, and lovely long grass blowing in the wind. Now it's all gone, the birds say, plowed under by humans. We should have fought them when we had the chance, but did we? No. We hid here. And what will keep them now, pray tell?" "The veil," said Nettle. "We'll fix the veil." "You think so?" Toadflax laughed softly. "How nice for you." "And besides," said Nettle, "I still don't see why you're all so afraid of humans. I really, really don't." "Perhaps someone should tell you," said Toadflax. "No," said Scabiosa, rising from her seat. "Toadflax, hold your tongue. We have all agreed we'll tell them when the time is right." Toadflax snorted. "We have humans coming through the pass, and now isn't the time to tell them? What exactly will it take, pray?" "Silence," said Scabiosa, in a voice Nettle had never heard before. Toadflax stared around the circle, then shrugged. "So be it. Persist in your folly." She spat on the ground and stalked into the night. "What was she talking about?" said Bracken. "Never mind," said Violet primly. "Off to bed, you two. We'll wait up for Rose." "What?" cried Nettle. "This isn't fair." She gazed pleadingly around the circle. Sedge, the youngest of the old witches, gave her a sympathetic shrug back. Sometimes it seemed as though Sedge and her friend Reed, the second youngest of the old witches, were the only ones who even vaguely remembered what it was like to be a witchling. "It's not, you know," Reed said now in her clear voice. "It's not fair. I think Nettle and Bracken should be told what's going on." "You," said Violet, "are a mere 150 years old. I don't think it's for you to contradict your elders." Oh, for pity's sake, Violet, sighed Sedge. She leaned over toward Nettle and Bracken. We've argued with them, she whispered, but you know how they are. There's no reason anybody has to go to bed if she doesn't want to, said Reed. It's not far to the wellspring. If all goes well, Rose should be back soon. If all goes well, said Violet. What do you mean, if all goes well? Asked Nettle. Enough questions, said Violet, not looking at her. But Bracken elbowed Nettle. Quiet, she muttered. Goose, you'll get us sent to bed. Goose, yourself, whispered Nettle, staring at the fire. Silence fell. A log broke and fell into ashes, and still no one said anything. Nettle's head nodded. She leaned against Bracken and closed her eyes. Nettle woke to a hubbub of shrill, excited voices. It was the first light. Everyone was standing up, staring toward a black speck fluttering against the pale sky. As it drew closer, Nettle could make out Rose's hat and broomstick. Thank Gaia, said Scabiosa. Oh, thank Gaia. Rose landed by the now dead fire and climbed shakily off her broomstick. I got it, she said, pulling a bottle of water from her pocket. But they found the wellspring. There were houses around it, lights. You weren't seen? Asked Scabiosa quickly. No, said Rose. She sank to a seat, her face gray and drawn. Is the wellspring water still good? Asked Violet. It was hard to tell in the glare, said Rose, sighing. The veil spinning, it's a night spell, isn't it? Asked Scabiosa. We'll have to wait until night to try. Rose nodded. Midnight. Oh, my head hurts. I can't think straight. It will be all right, Rose, said Scabiosa, patting her shoulder with one big hand. You shouldn't worry so. The veil spinning will work, surely. It's time now to get some sleep. Everyone stood and bowed their heads, their pointed hats bobbing. Merry meets and merry parts, they murmured. It was what you always said at the close of a gathering, merry or not. Then they all turned soberly toward their cottages. On the edge of the commons, a branch snapped, a tiny sound, but Nettle turned her head. Something small and thin and low to the ground, a weasel, a marten, seemed to slip into the underbrush and scurry away.